Let's just take it.
Okay, 7 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Everybody stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we've called to order and we do have a quorum. Next up is the minutes from January 17th, 2023 commission meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, we'll vote.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioners' reports. Sean?
Spoke with Abby on Friday, everything's okay. Sports finances.
Okay, Jessica?
Tim is on the way, just so you guys know, so he's just running a little late. I don't have too much to report. We have some interviews coming up and that's about it.
Okay, I have nothing at this time. Modifications and or approval of agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If not, no other questions, we'll vote. Sean?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Old business, legal update.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. If at any point you can't hear me, make sure to let me know. I know we're working on that. I only have a couple of things to share this evening. First, Josh, and I'll let him discuss the balance of those, extended to me a few task orders for projects that the city is contemplating, and I'll actually wait because I see Tim coming and we'll let him jump in on this since we're just hitting the substance of the meeting here. So Josh will be presenting three task orders, I believe, actually. I've reviewed those. As far as I'm concerned, they're in good legal form. Obviously, it's incumbent on the commission to determine whether or not they, believe that financially or for the purposes of the city, the work is appropriate. I don't weigh into that. I just weigh into the balance of the legality and other substance of the form, and it looked fine. So I appreciate Josh getting those to me. I appreciate you doing a good job in advance. That makes my life and everyone's life easier. So those will be ready for your review this evening. It looks like we have a rather long agenda. Portions of it may require my attention. The other balance of my business is not something that's ripe for public discussion at this point. So with that heads up, I'll just participate as necessary through the duration of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. More engineering.
Good evening. Few items on the agenda tonight. First being task order number 2, the Northeast Tioga Reconstruction Phase 2 project. This is the project that was started construction this past summer, and there's still a fairly substantial portion of work to be completed yet this year. With that, the completion dates, we are well past the completion dates on the project. So we do have an engineering amendment for approval tonight for additional construction engineering services to get through the remainder of the project based upon their most current construction schedule. And with that, if there's any questions, but just we look for approval on that. Any questions?
I make a motion to approve. We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second. No questions, we'll vote.
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carried.
Next item, on that, our next project I have is the Tioga Dam Nature and Recreational Trail. Just some, couple updates on this project, the environmental document. We performed the desktop, wetland evaluation, summary of findings on that. There's 4 distinct areas of potential wetlands that have been identified. And that'll be further reviewed once the snow disappears and we can do the field delineation. So more to come on that here once the snow disappears. So next item on that project is or on the environmental document on that is the class 1 literature review, which is kind of the essentially cultural and archaeological component of the project. The report from our sub-consultant in situ archaeological consulting is included in your packet there. And so the essentially the results of this report are that there is potential for there being cultural resources that could be impacted by the project. And they're recommending proceeding with a class 3 cultural resources management survey in order to do a field evaluation of potential archaeological artifacts and whatnot on site. So with that, what I've handed out is an amendment as well to our agreement for that project to perform the class 3 archaeological survey and prepare the report necessary for that. And I guess costs associated with that. The proposal for that from in situ is included in the packet there. That is 16,000, just under 16,000. Trying to recall that dollar amount, 16,067. Any questions?
Can you broaden the cultural impact a little?
Yeah, so, and I'm not necessarily an expert on this, so, bear with me a little bit, but essentially what this is kind of stemming from is wetlands, being out there, out on site, and with that, we'll have to apply for a U.S. Army Corps Section 404 permit. And when applying for that permit through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, you have to do the archaeological studies to determine if there's TP rings or things of that nature that could potentially be impacted by the project. And really the biggest areas of concern, I think, are kind of along that northern, there's a couple of tributaries kind of running into it. We had a meeting with Abby and Dam last week and kind of talked about it, and Abby brought up, the dam was constructed, they brought in fill and stuff to construct that, but those areas kind of along the northern edge, where there's tributaries coming in that wouldn't have been impacted by that previous construction are kind of the primary concern of having potential impacts there. So
Really a regulatory requirement.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, essentially.
Yes, maybe. I'd make a motion to.
Yeah, it's one of those things that. Kind of checking boxes to make sure you meet all the requirements of the federal government. There's some impacts that come with that.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have that. You made a motion to accept? Yes. Okay. Okay, and we'll vote. Any questions? Then we'll vote. I'm new at this. Tim? Yes. John?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes,
Okay, yes.
Next item I have is the 2023 sewer, water and street reconstruction project. Had some discussions on this a while back, and also discussed this further. Got a little more detail on what the scope of the project will be here last week with city staff members, but project area we're looking at is 3rd Street. From North 20th Street up to Signal Street. Few blocks there. Couple of them are a little longer blocks, so I guess from comparing other projects, there will be kind of a, you just go block by block. There's substantially more work than kind of your common block sizes. And the next component of it would be North Hanson Street. From kind of a dead end, about mid-block between 4th and 5th Street, that goes through the park area, and then 5th Street, or excuse me, Northampton from 5th up to 6th Street along the east side of the pool there as well. So that's kind of the project area that we're looking at, that including for this year's project. We have our task order for you for approval tonight. And that includes our preliminary design, final design, and bidding and negotiation of the project. We did a preliminary cost estimate on the project. We're looking at roughly 3.4 million. And you know, I think one big thing is just getting prices have been very high lately. So that's kind of a factor that we'll want to consider there as well, going forward with this one. Any questions related to that project?
I was kind of shocked when this thing came before. I thought we had a little projects. We got 2 of them still.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, like I was kind of explaining there, you know, with, 3 blocks, but they're longer blocks, of course. But yeah, you know, as far as cost goes, it is definitely up there. Bidding environment's been pretty poor lately, of course, as with everything. So, what we're looking at initially, there's for find things that we get a little closer. Hopefully they'll come in less. So.
As soon as we get the bids, you know, and we've already got to look at. You know, I don't know if we want to bring in an unknown this year. You know, we need to have somebody that we know is reliable.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to have a 3rd project in a row that's going to fall flat, especially up on S.
Yeah,
It's going to be impossible to get in and out of there.
mm-hmm.
So what's our timeline looking at this for, the project?
For bidding it,
No, for completion? 90 days?
for construction on it?
Yeah.
We can put that in there, I wouldn't,
Basically, that's what we have to work.
yeah, this, the struggle with that is putting, of course, more restrictions on the contract, of course, drives the prices even further, and whatnot too, so that's something as we get a little further down the line on it, we'll have to refine what kind of completion the city wants to sit on, so.
And we can put this out for bids, but since we're getting, close to the end of having everything done, maybe we want to look at putting this in two parts. Like, I wish we would have done on Northeast project. And we knew it was going to be a lot for them to get done. Yeah, they should have been able to get it done, but man, they missed it.
Yeah, we can, we can get closer to finalizing plans and whatnot, we can have discussions on what portions we may want to segment out for particular years, or particular completion time frames to, hopefully mitigate some of those issues.
I like that idea. I think about, separating it.
Yeah, so. And, we still have North Main, probably not of the areas. Remember that many contractors around the state,
So does anybody have any kind of crystal ball? Is that something you could speculate about, Josh, if they were to break it into two separate segments or three segments, whatever it is, that is serviceable? Is there any legitimate way to speculate whether construction will jump another 30% in 2 years? Or, that's the only worry that.
Yeah, and one, what we can do, is as we get a little further down the line, we can have a little more detailed discussions on which areas would be higher priority. And just set different completion dates for different components of the project, so you can push it out a year, say, 2024 completion date, for say a segment of the project, which will should help, alleviate some of that pressure.
You'd be securing the bid price, but you'd just be sending the deadline for the
Yeah.
completion of segmented work to try to hedge against inflation.
Yeah.
Our theory's always been to go big with the more bidders, but that wasn't the case last year.
No, last year was definitely tough.
Well, I make a motion, we approve the project and then we'll fine tune it as we go along.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, we'll vote. Jim?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carried.
The next item I have is the lead service line inventory. The state sent out a email here last week, I believe it was, with some information and a link to a application for assistance for the lead service line inventory that the city will be required to do by the state. And essentially what it is the state's has intentions of aiding public water systems in complying with the new requirements. So in the packet, I have included that application. I think we We'll have to assemble some of the information and additionally, at the end, there is a resolution suggested format from the state, which the city will have to pass. I hope I'll get that to you as well, Liz, so you can take a look at that and see if there's any revisions you may have for the city for passing that as well. That's just wanted to provide an update on that one. Probably next meeting, probably one next time. Get that submitted to the state for some potential assistance on putting together that inventory.
Yeah, I think we have to have a plan, but August 2024.
That sounds right. And I know it's kind of towards the later part of the quarter, so still some time. So the state's actually putting out. They have a request for proposals. I believe it's out right now for consulting firms to submit to be included on their pool to be selected to assist with this. In the application, it does talk about having you have a contract with the existing firm and whether you prefer that firm to be used to complete the inventory as they go through their selection and divide things up throughout the state for their citizens, different communities. So
This is even gonna affect inside people's houses.
I don't know what extent inside necessarily, but the service line all the way up to the roof. I know that for sure, but I don't know about beyond that within the plumbing within the house or the building itself. Yeah, so it's
Yeah. We do test, the city does test for that. And copy test, but we should be in pretty good shape, but this could be pretty good. Depends on how tough they want to be.
Mhm.
This, you know, regulation.
yeah, there's still kind of a developing issue, and they're still trying to get everything figured out of what all going in this too, so.
Is there gonna be any cost inquired on homeowners? That goes up to them.
So there is grants, and I apologize, I don't use them to look.
Mhm.
There are grants that are gonna be out there, and because it's the way they want to regulate it hasn't come out yet, their policies, their procedures, we don't know. I did talk to Jeff Mulder, he was in a meeting, when we were discussing this, he feels we only have one house with them, and the line does go all the way through. But there's a lot of talk on the grants that they're gonna go all the way to the homeowners. So it'll be on the city, but it'll be a grant to clean all of it up. The problem is that we don't know what their procedures will be. Does the state want us to check every line and have, you know, the consulting firm initial up on every line? Or we don't know yet. And we don't know how costly it'll be to every city. They haven't told us that yet. So there's a lot of unknowns. But because a lot of our housing was done after a certain time frame, Jeff can only account for one home. So this is inventory and identification phase, right? And once the state gathers the information from the inventory and identification, then they're gonna decide which policies they might implement to correct, if at all, and at what expense. Is that what we're understanding correctly?
Yeah.
We should be in a little better shape. Yeah, it depends on how far they wanna go, because when did they cut out in that? 69 or something?
Probably somewhere.
So if you have a street to your house, you've got probably that. So, Hasn't seemed that.
Okay. So yeah, next meeting we'll have that already for final review and whatnot, so. Next item. I do not have on the agenda, but wanted to chat on the, lift station that we're looking at over at the KSI site. So I had a discussion here last week with KSI, regarding the, property acquisition that we've been, Tim's been making attempts on, and, KSI also had some discussions with the property owner. Having some challenges, I guess, getting communication back and forth. And I guess KSI kind of just brought up maybe making a formal offer to the property owner at this time, we potentially help expedite things. As far as an area, the land area that we would be looking at would be 1275 feet by 75 feet, which is just under 0.13 acres. As far as the dollar amounts,
And you have an opportunity and
realtor or anyone approximate values to start that discussion.
Yeah, I talked with the local real estate company here in town, and she did just a quick gathering of numbers, whatever, and she had come up with about 2,000 to maybe what I think it was 2,500, 2,800 in that range. She said that was a kind of probably being a very generous amount. At least on the 2,800 side would be very generous, in her opinion. So
Per acre or for the 10th of an acre?
for that 75 by 75. So whatever you want to make in the offer, 1,500, $1. No, I mean, whatever, make a reasonable offer.
So with that, we haven't gotten to the point of doing any official survey drawings or anything of the exact or legal descriptions of the property. Yes, depends which way the city wants to take it, to try and acquire that piece of property. Offer some sort to hopefully get things moving in the right direction on that.
Was that for an easement, Josh, or is that actually procuring the premises that would matter? Are we talking, what are we talking?
I think it would be most appropriate to actually acquire the property instead of an easement, just being that it's it's not a pipeline running through a parcel, it's actually putting
The
a
actual
lift
station.
station and some surface features, more surface features on it. So I'd say actually acquiring the property would probably be more appropriate in this case.
I'm still surprised we beat that much.
Part of it is just the construction component of it, and potential movements in the future, there's on the piping underground and whatnot would be kind of that. But we need to know that large, otherwise, probably 50 by 50 would probably be, really how the majority of the surface features of them standing out a little under to accommodate future excavations that may occur at a later date. Would probably be more appropriate.
You know, it's not. It's small, you know, got a chance. And, not that it's a lot to know.
Well, for what it's worth, I mean, if the city were to contemplate taking the property and programs with infrastructure law, a takings requires an entity, a government entity to pay fair market value. So I mean, you have to assume that as a given. It's usually not the question of whether they're due that. The question, whenever there's a dispute, is what's that number, right? It's not that they're not due the fair market value of whatever you're taking. It's what is the fair market value, but it sounds like Dan's made some preliminary investigation about that. So it sounds like it's more what's the number than is it something that needs to be done if that's instrumental to project.
Like I said, I'd like to give them a couple more weeks.
Sounds great. With that, that is all I have. I'm going to check any further questions.
Get that bid.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. Vacant seat on Tioga Airport Board.
The resignation letter from the Tioga Airport Board from Chris Norgard. And he resigned his position effective immediately. And so I am seeking permission from the commission to advertise for this position.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, we'll vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Item number 4. Second reading ordinance 2023-02, updated chapter 8 traffic.
This is an ordinance supplementing and amending chapter 8 traffic of the city of Tioga ordinances and ordinance governing emergency snow routes. 8.0307 penalty violation traffic / parking citation complaint. Whenever a motor vehicle is found, stopped, or parked contrary to the provisions of this section, the owner of such vehicle may be issued a traffic summons or parking citation, charging them with a violation of this section. Any person violating this section is subject to a fine of $150 per violation. Section 8.0401, snow emergency routes. 0.9, violations, traffic citation complaint. Whenever any motor vehicle is found, stopped, or parked contrary to the provisions of this section after 8 of the declaration of snow emergency, the owner of such vehicle may be charged with a violation of this section. Any person violating this section is subject to a fine of $50 per each day of violation, and the vehicle may be subject to impound, administrative, and other incurred fees.
If anyone would like a copy of this, they can obtain it at City Hall.
Any questions on that?
You know, it seems kind of stringent, 3 days on the can't park.
It was 48 hours. So,
Yeah.
the police chief actually reviewed it and thought he wanted to extend that. So, such small time, but you have to remember the time frame when the snow is coming in and you have the snow plows trying to go out there.
I think it more applies for some of the vehicles that haven't moved. And everybody else seems to get their vehicles in and out. Okay, but there are some areas where the vehicles broke down and
Any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further questions? If not, we'll vote. Tim?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, item number 5, 2022 end of the year financials.
For the end of 22, year-end statements. And, they just need to be approved so that when the auditors come, it's done. It has been reviewed with Sean and also with Kevin. Now it's on the commission board.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any questions? If not, we'll vote. Tim?
Yes.
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 Yes. Carried. Number 6, estimate for renewal of golf course software and warranty.
So about every 3 years, we purchase a warranty. And, the 3 years is coming up. So I'm seeking approval, to purchase the warranty for the next 3 years. And it comes with 3 new, golf courses.
Which one do we have now? I see there's different listings like gold.
We have the gold, we always say the gold is just better, because if we have to purchase the software separate, it will cost us like for each game. For a golf course game, it's $395. So the gold comes with a warranty and it also comes with 3 separate new games. Yeah. Which this is used pretty much a lot, so there, even the people that use it are seeking throughout the year.
Yeah, that's good. I made a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, we'll vote. Tim?
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 7, estimate for Tioga Golf Country Club. That's county club, I'm assuming.
an estimate for, the lawn irrigation, for the country club, which, last year, there was a lot of discussion. And it took a while to get an updated estimate. So the estimate comes out to $410,400 to provide irrigation to the country club, which is in desperate need of it. The grass greens do die after a certain amount of time, it's just hot. And so this would take care of that situation. We do have 100,000 already of it put to the side from visitor promotion and Tioga fund. So I am seeking $310,400 to finish providing for this.
When we first started looking at this, we looked at it was going to be over $500,000, so that price came in under.
It's still,
And they also did say that before they didn't have staff to do this, because staff is so hard to come by. But since then, they've actually called me and they said they can do it within a lot of time. And they do have their full staff and they're happy to come and take care of this for the city of Tioga and surrounding areas.
I'll make a motion.
Very good, the motion,
I got a question.
yes.
I was around when we put this golf course
State
together,
your name, sir.
Richard Schmidt. I was around when they put the golf course together. They're talking of putting in irrigation. That's been mentioned about the water costs. Who's gonna pay for the water costs for irrigating the golf course green?
By the wells.
Pardon?
It has wells. I think there's 6 or 7 wells out there.
You think that'll be enough?
We've talked with the board and one of the gentlemen that handles the golf course out there, and he's very confident that this is gonna be a good thing.
Sounds like an awful lot of money, I think, for this to do.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? If not, we'll vote.
yes,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Motion carried. Number 8, membership fee for Economic Development Association of North Dakota.
I'm seeking permission or approval to join the Economic Development Association of North Dakota. This is something that we used to do in the past and we haven't done for 5-6 years, I think. So I'm seeking permission to review our membership fee.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I actually spoke with the vice chair. Very cool people. I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any questions? If not, we'll vote. Kim?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Motion carried. Number 9, planning and zoning application.
Is Steve here? Steve was invited and he said he would attend. It's to look at his conditional use application for the shipping container located in his property. Guys, and we looked at both our present ordinance and our past ordinance. The present ordinance that was just approved in our past ordinance, and both do state that, no shipping containers are allowed. But if you guys would like him present to discuss it with him, then I can try again for the next time and you guys table it, or you guys can make a decision now. And, we can call him and let him know. It's up to you guys. I did invite him, he did say he would attend, but might have, had something else to do.
Is this the one that was continued once already?
Yes.
I don't care what the commission does, but if it elects to follow the recommendation of the board, this really does need to be styled as a variance and not a conditional use permit. And those are two very different things. A conditional use permit implies that it's a use that's authorized conditionally under ordinance. This is not a use that's conditionally authorized under either ordinance. So really what he needs is a variance, and this would be a temporary variance if you elect to follow the planning and zoning board's recommendation. They gave him very politely an extension to maintain that until May 1st of 2023. So just, I know it seems like that's a matter of style, but it's not. It really should be styled as a variance, not a conditional use permit.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Would it be appropriate to deny this and,
I think that it just creates more paper. I mean, really all he's trading is the application fee. I mean, Dan, do you know the difference of the application fee for a variance versus a conditional use permit?
It's the same.
It's identical. I mean, you guys could do it that way, you do within your rights, but it also just seems like it's kind of a waste of time for the landowner and the commission.
Yeah, I agree, it's probably got to go. I'm not saying I don't want to have shipping containers all the time. I'd give him a little more time. May 1st, last year would have been impossible. And I think he really did try to put it in a place that was not obvious. It took me a long time to find it. I just heard about it when I was driving around down there. It took me a long time to find it. It's gotta go, but, you know, I'd be okay with giving him a little more time.
If you want to give him the option to extend, we've done that as a temporary variance, but if he finds that he needs time past May 1st. If it's snow.
Yeah, that would be good. I don't think it's all summer, maybe a month or two. Last year, May 1st was tough.
Larry, I got a question. Yes, sir.
Right.
I'm Richard Schmidt again, and I understand you're talking about these storage containers. Is that
Yes.
okay? How come you singled this one fellow out when there's several of them scattered around town here?
Well, we didn't single him out.
Okay, so is it gonna pertain to the ones that are already in place now too?
The ordinance is applied to everyone within the city limits. Mr. Schmidt, really what happens is that matters are complained of to the city and the city makes an investigation or the city becomes aware of a violation. I suppose if neighbors want to walk around and report their neighbors for apparent zoning violations, they'd be welcome to report that to Dan. The city does have a lot of business though. I don't know that they unilaterally, Tim had to go look for it once reported. I don't know that anyone's putting on a magnifying glass and looking for shipping containers, but anyone can report them.
Well, they're quite obvious where they're sitting at. You know, and I can tell you where they're at, if you wish.
Well, why don't you make a list of where they're at and we'll turn the list over to Dan Larson.
Who's the correct person? I'll just take and show them where they're at.
Well, why don't you get together with Dan then?
Okay,
And then Dan can make,
okay. When would it be convenient for him?
you'll have to ask him.
Okay,
I don't know what his schedule is.
I will do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
so what are we gonna do with this?
So what are we gonna do? Make a motion? Make it a
It's
variance?
temporary variance, and do you want to just say that it, I mean, the planning was, they said May first was their recommendation, you're right, it could be soupy as all get out come May first. Do you want to just say that he has an automatic right to extend for blank number of days?
60 days, say.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty fair.
You have a motion?
Yes.
Second?
Also,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further questions, we'll vote. Tim?
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
Yes. Okay, number 10. Estimate for Johnson Control Fire Safety at City Hall.
My number 10 is the consent agenda.
No,
That was added. I think my staff missed your updated agenda. Go ahead, sorry, Larry. Just gotta make sure we don't miss a spot.
thought I screwed
No,
up again.
please, I screwed up, not you. Go ahead.
Okay, estimate for Johnson Control Fire Safety at City Hall.
So Johnson Control does, they check our fire suppression system at the PD and at the, fire hall or the new ambulance base, excuse me. And so, since they come in already to do that, our contract was up with our old provider and we wanted to renew it so that it could be in junction with the PD when they come and do the ambulance base. So to add that, it would be $982.34 per year. And it would start February 1st through January 31st of 2026.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to accept. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second. No further questions, roll call. Tim?
Yes.
Don?
Yes,
Yes,
Yes. Motion carried. Next, we have consent approval.
Good mayor.
Pledge holdings as of 1/27/23. Local charity permit application. Payroll for January 22nd, 2023 and February 7th, 2023. And bills for January. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Now we'll vote. Tim?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes. Okay, do we have anything else to come before the commission? If not, we have a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, come up here.
I'm Bruce Rundle, representing Tioga Historical Society and the Norseman Museum. Ever since our building was built, we've had a real contention with the heating and cooling system. And as I know in Somerville, have been out there, we're known by first name now. And we were looking through, Ronnie and I was looking through our old agreement with the city dated the 7th of August, 2018. And I think you guys have copies out there in front of you. I got it highlighted in yellow. The Historical Society, the user agreement shall include, among other terms, that one, the Historical Society shall not be charged any rental fees or utilities in occupying and using such building for museum purposes. The city shall bear the expense of all maintenance, utilities, and repair to the space of the structure occupied by the Historical Society. The city shall maintain an insurance policy for the structure and any other insurance the city claim deems necessary and appropriate to protect its own interests. Now, this is a 99-year agreement, but what we're thinking of, we're coming upon some fees now after the warranties.
Does the just reimburse if and I apologize, I haven't called Ronnie, but
Okay.
the city did just reimburse.
Okay, so in other words, even from this day forward,
Yeah, that
we
was
will not
reimbursed.
be, the repairs will be taken care of.
for
Okay.
repairs.
Thank you.
And do we have, there's a separate user agreement, right? This was the preliminary, I didn't
That
want
was-
Taylor Olson, lawyer for the museum. I remember us negotiating this and we didn't want to get bogged down. And so there was a subsequent execution of a user agreement. So you're not wrong, but there's another agreement, I think that's controlling and specifies this. And, it's consistent with what you
Is it
said.
pretty much the same as this one?
I think there was some difference. It was more detailed. It's substantially similar, but it kind of broke out those obligations. I mean, you're right in principle, but there is. just
Well,
as you
that's
said,
my
there's another one.
understanding. The city's got an insurance, isn't it, that picks up?
We do have an insurance, but because last time when the heater broke, it was $7,000. It was such a high cost amount, so when EPO recommended it, I brought it to the commissioners and they approved the insurance. But it's still $1,500 to for our deductible.
Okay,
And so the city would still have to pay $1,500, but that cost was only $600 or $700, I believe. And so it was too late when Smiley wrote the check. So he came in and I said, don't send any book, I'll just send it. I said, that's okay. What we'll do is we'll reimburse
okay.
the museum. So there is a check already written out reimbursing the museum for that.
So then from this day forward, pretty much like the heater blower goes out, which it did right after
Right.
Christmas, or during Christmas, we had to use our big reservoir heater to heat basically the whole building. And, 50 degrees is great. And then also,
So you would have to call and still do all the calls and make sure that there's someone there that would still have to be.
as long as we're, we
But
have
the
them,
city, yeah, the bills.
yeah, they come out with regular maintenance in spring and fall. I think some of those, or,
And we
some
pay
of
for
them.
that.
So it's understood then that we're basically don't have to pick up
That is
these
correct.
astronomical repairs. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
David Cagle, I was made aware of the vacancy.
Can you step a little closer?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I was made aware of the vacancy for the airport board. I was wondering if I could be considered on that board. I've been around here for about 15 years. I have a great interest in aviation. I spend a lot of time out at the airport anyway. Currently working under my private license. Had a business in town for a while. But yeah,
An introduction.
Yeah.
Submit a letter of interest
alright,
and then, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us.
okay. Well,
Yes, please.
Thank you. Any questions about that? Thank you. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, we'll vote. Tim?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.